What is up, everyone? Mark here, and welcome to another Pandemic Pantry Extra video. Today, we are going to be making carrot cake. Now, is it healthy? Not really. It has added sugar. But in the continuation of my quick bread recipes, similar to the chocolate chip banana bread and the cinnamon swirl bread that we did in past episodes, very similar here. But we are making this more like a loaded carrot cake. When I have a carrot cake, I want it to taste like carrot. Within reason, one doesn't want to be like eating a plate of vegetables, but we don't want it to just taste like a generic cinnamon cake or a spice cake, as a lot of them tend to. So we're going to go full force with the carrot on this one. At least you're getting some vegetables in there. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I have a ton of carrots left over. I bought a couple pound bag of carrots a few weeks ago before the Blue Apron boxes started showing up. And then whenever I needed carrots and it was in the Blue Apron recipe, I was getting carrots for it anyway. So I've had these kind of sitting here. I've got plenty of carrots already that I've prepped and frozen for soups and things like that. So I don't need to make more of those. So we're going to do carrot cake. I want to thank you all again so much for continuing to support the channel, watch the videos, subscribe. Speaking of which, subscribe, red button down below or the watermark in the corner. If you're watching on Facebook right now, please go over to youtube.com/markworm and you can subscribe there. Lots of new stuff coming down the pipeline, so I think you'll all enjoy it. But right now, the task at hand is carrot cake, so let's get started. All right, so before we talk about the rest of the ingredients, the very first thing we're going to do is, you guessed it, we're going to grease some pans. So this can be made in a 13 by 9 baking pan, or it can be spread among about 6. I think it's going to work out to. I'm going to divide the batter by weight and make sure that it works out about right. But it needs to be about the right thickness. So normally when I do a quick bread, instead of a 5 by 9 loaf pan, I end up doing about 4 of the mini loaves. But because this is designed to be a less thick final product to begin with, I'm going to need to spread that out across more pans to equal basically the same volume and area as a 13 by 9 baking pan. This does work really well in a glass 13 by 9 casserole. It's kind of perfect for it. You don't have to worry about nicking it with your knife when you cut. You can cut and serve it right out of the glass, super easy. But again, here I'm doing the minis so that I can freeze these, because wrapped tightly in plastic, they freeze really well to be used later. And then you just have to microwave them for a couple of minutes and cut the plastic off, and it's like they just came out of the oven. All right, so let's get these greased. I'm going to be using shortening this time instead of butter, mostly because I just want a neutral flavor for this. And I am also going to be lining these with parchment paper, as I have done in some of the past recipes. So again, just to keep this clean, I like to kind of use a cheapo sandwich baggie as a glove. And then I just take a scoop of shortening and kind of rub it around the inside. Now we are not going to be flouring this or anything, or greasing the inside of the parchment, so no need for that. This obviously also goes much faster than rubbing around that little nub of butter. Mostly because the shortening is already so soft. And honestly, that one glob that I pulled out at the beginning should be enough to grease all 6 of these. Okay, that was just about perfect. Now we're just going to drop a parchment into each one. And just kind of make sure that they're centered. And you can line maybe just the bottom with parchment if you like. You don't have to line it with parchment at all. I like to do this just to help add some extra insurance that they'll release okay, especially since I'm going to be wrapping some of these to be frozen. Okay, let's get these put aside and move on to the rest of the ingredients. All right, so for our ingredients, we have 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. We have 1 1/4 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. We have 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. We have 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and just a pinch of ground cloves. We've got 1 1/2 cups of white sugar and 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. We've got 4 eggs, and we've got 1 1/2 cups of vegetable oil. And as I said, we need about 1 pound of carrots. That's about 6 medium-sized carrots peeled and grated on a box grater. So let's get those prepped now. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is get our carrots peeled. Okay, now as I said, for most of this, we are going to grate it on the medium-sized holes of the box grater. But a couple of these I'm going to hold off and process a little bit differently, and I'll talk about that in a minute when I get there. Okay, so we've got most of the carrots grated. What did I want to do differently? Well, I want to get some different texture in here, so it's not all just grated carrot. So I'm going to use the peeler to kind of shave off some thin ribbons of carrot, and then just cut them down, you know, so they're not too big or obtrusive for the mix of what we're doing here. I almost want this to have the texture of like flaked coconut versus, say, shredded coconut. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of mix this together so to kind of get all of the different sized carrot pieces distributed throughout. All right, now I think we're ready to continue. Okay, so this is the point where things are going to come together more quickly. The carrots are probably the one piece to prep that took the longest out of everything. So we're going to take our flour, our cinnamon, our baking powder, our baking soda, salt, nutmeg, and our pinch of cloves. And we're going to just whisk this together to get the dry ingredients incorporated. This is going to be a standard team wet, team dry recipe. Sugar counts as wet, by the way. I'm not sure if that's because it's hygroscopic, it absorbs water. It wants to pull moisture out of what's around it, but it is. In case you didn't know. That's why often you'll see the sugar being mixed with the eggs or mixed with the butter in a recipe. Okay, now we want to combine the sugars and the eggs. And again, crack on a flat surface and into a separate bowl just to make sure you don't get any pieces of shell or anything funky in there. And we just want to whisk this together until it's all combined and it gets a little frothy. Okay, now I want to slowly add the oil while I'm continuing to whisk this. And it's kind of important to move slowly and keep whisking because we want to get this emulsified. We don't want it to be an oil slick. Okay, now we want to start whisking in our flour mixture until it is just combined. I'm going to do this in about 2 or 3 stages. And similar to most quick breads, like the cinnamon swirl and like the banana bread, we don't want to over mix this. We just want to bring it together. And lastly, we want to mix in our carrots. And we just want to get this mixed until everything is nicely combined. Now that is a carrot cake batter. Look at all that beautiful carrot in there. Again, don't want to overdo this, just want to make sure the carrots are nice and evenly distributed throughout the batter. And just scrape down the sides a little. Okay, I'm going to get a few things cleaned up and then we're going to portion out our batter into the tins. Okay, so dividing out this batter for 6 tins, each one should have about 275 grams of the batter in it. So we're going to just weigh this out and get these into the oven. Okay, I think that's about as close as we're going to get that. So these are going to go into a 350-degree oven in the middle rack, and they're going to take about 25 to 45 minutes, kind of like every one of our quick breads. I'm guessing it's probably going to be on the higher side of that, but I'll check it in 25 minutes and see where it is, and we're going to just test it with a toothpick in the middle of each loaf, and as long as it comes out with no crumbs, we're good to go. Okay, these are done. We're going to give these a few hours to cool completely, mostly because we're going to have dinner and then revisit this as a dessert later. But for now, these do need to cool. If it was a full 9 by 13 baking pan, you'd really want to let it cool for a few hours. These could probably get away with cooling for an hour and be okay just because they're so much smaller. But even still, like I said, we're going to just have a little bit longer because we're going to be having dinner soon. All right, we're going to come check on these and do the frosting a little bit later. Okay, we are almost ready to try some carrot cake. So I did include the cream cheese frosting recipe down below. However, I am not making the full batch because, again, I'm freezing most of these. Now, I just made a smaller amount, and really you can do this with almost any recipe. Just scale it down, scale it up for what you need. Hard to get the proportions exactly right because I was dealing with such small amounts. But, you know, this is, you know, certainly not as wasteful as if I made a whole batch for nothing. But let's take one of these out of the tin. Oh. Okay. Let's see. That you can actually see the carrot in there. What do you know? Okay. Let's give this a taste, shall we? Wow. This is one darn good carrot cake. Sweet, it's delicious. It's spiced just enough, but it tastes distinctly like carrot. It doesn't taste like a cinnamon cake or a spice cake or gingerbread. It's definitely carrot cake. That is it for another one, guys. We'll see you in the next video.